Hey, what is up guys, GuitarRock here, welcome back to another Brown Dust 2 video. So let's talk about the current patch coming this week. So we got Zenith available for a pool, and then of course we're going to try to make the comparison when the time comes, but for now we have the patch notes. So Zenith was already available in the story pack, so you can basically try her out and her skills have been revealed before. But there's just nothing for me to be able to give on a perspective, except for when she comes out, we're going to have the damage comparison. That's going to be much easier, right? So we're going to have a new season, new event as a whole. So this is going to be the new one that will get the buff. Poolside Guardian, Beach Vacation Eclipse, Summer Vacation Dalvi, Dream Bright Eclipse. Again, all of these, is something that you can definitely obtain easily available. Now, the thing is, the new Giant Fin is going to be Trauma Flamingo. I believe this is going to be a new boss especially. So we're going to see the event in particular. So Zenith ability skill will be added. So right now, this is going to be similar to Lethal's skill, right? Detects the location of hidden objects. If you guys are not aware, basically it allows you to do this, right? You basically, let me see if I can show it. So Lethal's ability right here, you can basically just do this. Not that one. Wait, that is the Celia's ability. Lethal's one is this one. So it opens up the hidden objects, and then you always use this in combination to Celia. You activate Lethal's hidden search first, and then Celia will absorb everything, including the one that you can only discover from hidden search. So Zenith will basically be the new character that will have that available to her. So I guess if you guys want to like level it up again, you can, but it is something that already pre-existing. Lethal already has this ability. I guess it's good to give players an option for, especially like a female character, a waifu character, to have this built into her, right? So very, very good in that particular situation, but it will take a while before you can level up to legendary in this case, right? So that's going to be something to consider. Again, we have all of these adjustments as well that will be able to be very, very cool adjustments right here. Victory Mirror Wars, Lose Mirror Wars, that's going to be separate, right? So let's talk about Poolside Guardian Zenith. So what is she going to be all about, and where does she stand or lie in the meta right now? So for those of you who are not aware, Zenith is her first costume is already available, and that is going to be a win single target amplification character, right? So I believe she's one of the best characters in the game if you are looking to basically amplify the damage that the enemies can receive. Alright, so let me just show you guys. Now I actually think this is a very sick costume in a way that number one is 0 SP. Like how many costumes have 0 SP, right? Let's be honest. So 6 times hitting the enemy, 25% of the attack, very low damage, right? Her damage is very low. She's not there to do damage, however. She's there to apply amplification, concentrated fire to the enemy. That one is like whatever, right? You have concentrated fire. You can combo that with someone like Ventana, which definitely do a lot of damage when the enemy has concentrated fire applied. You can also apply 100% vulnerability to the enemy for 4 turns, right? This is going to be the costume that you need. Ideally for Zenith, you just have that costume, and that's going to be, in most cases, enough, right? I did not expect them to add one more Zenith costume because she has one costume that literally has 1 turn cooldown, so you can spam that costume every single turn, is 0 SP as well. She's probably one of the most meta character if the boss has a weak spot, which is on a skip or a vault, right? So she can enable certain characters like Hikage and of course Wilhelmina. Now, let's talk about this particular costume as a whole, right? So where does this lie? So right now, this particular one, the Poolside Guardian Zenith, she's also a skip tile, similar to her default. Attack 6 times, physical damage equal to 50% of her attack. So again, that's a little bit higher than what we have, which is 25% right here. So she is going to do more damage. However, her SP is also higher. SP requirement is 3 SP at +1, and that's going to be pretty much it. Oh, you get one more when you potentially liberate her. So that's going to be 2 SP when she goes down right there, right? So she is going to at least get this particular one. So ideally, +1 seems to be a very, very good stopping point. If you can afford only, like you have limited free-to-play pools, then +1 is going to be the good stopping point. Alright, you get that 6% at +2, and then at +3, this one is going to last for 4 turns. I feel like that +3 might be needed for Fin Hunter rotation, because you want to be able to use this skill and then you want it to last for 1 more turn, and then you rotate to the other skill. So you might need a minimum of +3 if you care about using her specifically. for Fin Hunter, and of course for guild raids. For anywhere else in story and stuff such, you might not even need this particular costume, right? Because this is going to be a setup costume alongside with the other costume that hopefully you already have by default. If you don't have the default costume, you pull for this particular Zenith costume, you will not be able to rotate it consistently because her cooldown is going to be 3 turns, right? So you are only going to use this one, and then the other turn you have to use like basic attack. So that's going to be how it is. 7% chain damage increase, 8% at +5, 7 at +4, and then you go on with 2% more at the potential liberation, so you get her up to 10% increase chain damage taken to the enemy for 4 turns. So one very important thing that I will need to test out is we need to compare the 10% increased chain damage versus, alright, if we're talking about for Wilhelmina's case. So if you guys are not aware, Wilhelmina also has a very recent upgrade to her costume, right? So for those of you who are not aware, which is this particular one. So Wilhelmina has 2 costumes. This is going to be the one that does hit the enemy 12 times. And then she also has this particular one which buffs herself. She applies the chain reinforcement to yourself for 6 turns. Alright, this is going to enable her and allow her to do much sequence in the other area. Now for Wilhelmina's case, she buffs herself by applying chain reinforcement. Whereas for Zenith, she is going to apply a debuff to the boss. Alright, and the boss is going to get 10% increased chain damage. Now ideally, you might argue that Zenith is better because it's a form of debuff. That means anyone else is also going to benefit from that chain damage increase, right? So depending on who you're pairing in your Wilhelmina's team. But of course, if Wilhelmina is going to be the strongest DPS in that particular team, then this one is going to make a lot of sense. Ideally, that's going to be the comparison that we have to compare. All right, do we compare this particular costume's buff versus Zenith's debuff? Because at the end of the day, I am aware that this costume is going to go away, right? But however, this will still be added to the standard banner. So that's going to be something to consider as well. So you gotta look at it from that factor. And also one more thing, for a lot of players who have Wilhelmina, alright, but you also did pull for the collab character Hikage, alright? So in this particular case, this character right here. So I'm sure you guys are aware, but for those of you who might be newer, that comes to the game recently, Hikage was a Senran Kagura collab character. She will not be available in the permanent anymore until she reruns. You will not be able to obtain her, sadly. She is another form of Wilhelmina where she does a lot of chain damage 12 times, or at least a minimum of 12 chains, alright, that can do all of this damage right here, right? So it is going to be something to consider. If you own both Wilhelmina and Hikage, I think Zenith, her value is going to be really, really high. Especially for a lot of characters, even Celia, and characters that can do multi-hits, right? Even Luventia, those characters that can do like more than 5 chain damage, their value is going to increase in proportion, right? The more characters you have that have high chain, the more Zenith's value increases. Now, if you lack those specific characters, then it's going to be much harder to recommend Zenith as a whole, right? But that's going to be something that we'll have to test out. Generally, I am aware that you can stack both Hikage and also Zenith as well. But in that case, let's say you bring Zenith, right? Ideally, Zenith, Hikage, Wilhelmina, and then maybe you bring Refutia for the chain reinforcement as well. Yeah, I think that could be something that you can also do, right? It is going to be quite strong if you're looking for just single target. The truth is, some bosses might not be single target focused. Some bosses might have multiple different weak spots across different areas that you will need to aim with AoE. So it still is going to depend on the boss that you fight for Fin Hunter and guild raids generally, right? I think so far we have had like 1 or 2 that has like only 1 tile. The Wilhelmina previous one, the most recent Fin Hunter was also 3 tiles, right? So it's going to be something to consider. Definitely, I think for most players, if you care about rotation wise, +3 is a good stopping point. Now keep in mind that Zenith is not a limited character by any means, but if you do intend to get her, I still think, similar to Wilhelmina's case, the default costume is going to be better. This other costume is going to be complementary. You're probably not going to use this particular costume in a lot of situations like in campaign and stuff, right? Let's say you go to Tower of Salvation and stuff, you're probably not going to use this one as much unless you manage to get like both Hikage and Wilhelmina as a whole. But even then, you need some sort of AoE generally, right? So it is going to be a much harder configurable character outside of Fin Hunter and, you know, guild raids generally. So that's going to be something to consider, so keep that in mind. For new players, I might not recommend this as much as something like Therese. Alright, Therese banner is still there, so that is going to be ideally the focus. If you haven't already gotten Therese, which is going to be a swimsuit Therese right here, beachside angel Therese, I feel like she is going to be a much better offer, much better option for a lot of new players. So yeah, with that being said, that's going to be it for this particular video. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. Give this video a like. I'll test her out when she comes out this Thursday. As always, have a nice day. Goodbye.